And having said that, we'd like to warmly welcome Gulalai to present what work she's been doing with her Aware Girls organisation. So Gulalai, you have the stage.
Thank you so much. The presentations were really inspiring, and I think there's a lot to reflect. As we know that patriarchy is universal, it's almost universal, but I can talk about the symptoms of patriarchy in Pakistan. So, as you know that Pakistan is now on the map of the world. It's among the countries where life for girls and women is very difficult. It's according to one of the research done by Thomas Reuters Foundation, it was counted as the world's third most difficult country of the world for women. And then the part of Pakistan from where I come, it's the northwest of Pakistan, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, which is in the map of Pakistan, it is then much more difficult part of Pakistan. If we look at I can share some few statistics from the province. So I don't have a pictorial presentation, but the statistics in the province are the literacy rate for girls in the province is less than 23%. And literacy in our definition means a person who can read and write his or her name is considered as literate. So when we say that girls' literacy rate is 23%, it does not mean that 23% of the girls of the province are educated to an extent where they are empowered and they can make their own career and can be enabling individuals. They're just 23% of the girls who can just read and write, because only less than 15% of the girls are completing their high schools, and then very few girls are able to complete their college and their university's education. If we look at the statistics of violence against women, then the statistics of violence against women also, it shows that 90%, the statistics shows that in Pakistan, more than 90% of the women, they are victims of domestic abuse. And the reporting is quite low, especially from the northwest of Pakistan. So if we look at the map of Pakistan, where literacy rate is low, the reporting of violence against women is also low. And where the literacy rate is high, the reporting of cases of violence against women is also high. So it shows that when communities are educated and when girls are educated, there is opportunity that they will be able to speak up against violence. Less education means less ability and less empowerment of women. So, and it's not easy for women in Pakistan, especially in the northwest of Pakistan, to speak up. As Lillian already shared, one of their partner organization, leader of one of their partner organization was killed, and the organization was again bombed because they are working on women rights. We all know about Malala, the very young woman, courageous woman who was speaking for, like we say, she was speaking for a very simple right, for the right of education, which should not be considered as harmful by anyone in any part of the world. But in our part of the world, even speaking up for education can be life-risking, and it almost took the life of Malala only because she was speaking for the right of education. In Swat, Taliban destroyed more than 400 schools of girls. And these schools were destroyed mostly in those areas where literacy rate was high. So in areas where girls' literacy rate was low, attacks on schools were also less. But in areas where literacy rate of girls was high, attacks on school by the Taliban were also high. So it for us, I think there is a big learning for us. Taliban are the terrorists or the extremists. They know that if they want to turn a society, the entry point is girls and women. Destroy girls and women, limit opportunities for girls and women, and the societies are destroyed. So we have to learn, I think, that if we want to empower societies, if we want to change the world, then the starting point are women and girls. We have to take start from girls and women. And that is why we, in 2002, 11 years ago, we started Aware Girls. And the purpose of the organization was to provide platform to the young women and girls of the very difficult parts of Pakistan, so that they can come together, they can be educated about their human rights, they can learn about their dignity, and then they can claim their human dignity, and then they can claim their human rights. We believe that all all stakeholders, they have an important role in promoting and protecting human rights of individuals. But we think that the starting point is that one should claim their rights. If they will not claim their human rights, if someone will not claim their human rights, believe me, no one will come and stand for us. It's we girls who have to stand for ourselves, and that is why we kept the name of the organization as Aware Girls. And the basic thing which when we started in 2002, we were very young. Let me tell you, I was in school. I was 16 years old. My sister, who was the co-founder, she was even younger than me, and we were 7 friends and none of us was elder than 18 years. So we were all very young, and we recognized when we were in school, luckily I was from a family, I was from a human rights family, I will say. My father was a human rights activist, so when girls of my age were reading storybooks and they were having these Barbie dolls, they call it Barbie dolls. My storybook was, believe me, CEDAW and CRC and Human Rights Report. They were my storybooks. So I read CEDAW in 2002. I was reading CEDAW. So that is why, being from that background, I was kind of a bit more aware about patriarchy, about how it interplays with power, and I was a bit aware about human rights. So I used to, when I will read CEDAW and I will go to school and I will tell to my friends, hey, I read CEDAW and I read CRC, and this has been written in CEDAW, and they will, they won't show any interest, and they used to think that if they cannot go to the market, it's kind of privilege, that their brothers have to go for them, and if girls don't go for a job, they thought it was a privilege. They don't have to worry for the employment and for the jobs, and it's all hectic men's job, and men do all the hectic jobs. So they think even today that it's a privilege. And so it was shocking for me and for some of my friends who was with me. It was shocking for us that how girls have internalized the patriarchy, how they have accepted their lower status in the society, and how they consider discriminations as privileges. So we thought that if we want to bring change in the society, then girls should at least acknowledge their equal human rights status. If they will acknowledge their equal human status, if they will acknowledge their equal human dignity, then they will be hurt. If their rights are violated, then they will be hurt, and then they will speak up for it. So we thought that our starting point is raising awareness among girls about their equal rights. That's why the name of the organization is Aware Girls. And we grew very organically, and the purpose of our work is to enable girls and young women to know about their human rights, to have platform where they can raise their voices, and to provide them with the skills and institutions for the protection of their rights. So we are running a helpline in Aware Girls, which provides information, counseling, and referral services to the women and girls who are victims of gender-based violence. And why we started the helpline? We are an advocacy organization, but when we did a campaign 4 years ago, we did a very intensive campaign in which we mobilized girls that they should speak up against violence. They should not suffer. They should not stay silent, because even speaking up matters. So what happened? And we also engaged a lot of men, and we did discussions with men, and they were mobilized, and they were very enthusiastic, and they said, yes, we will start from our families. There were men from the very patriarchal backgrounds. They said that when I will go back to my family, I will ask my father to give inheritance rights to my sister. And there was a boy who said that my father used to beat my mother, but I thought it's normal, and it's norm, and it's part of the culture. But from now onwards, I will never let my father beat my mother. So these were these kind of changes which the program was bringing. And then we also, at our phone in the office, we also started a lot of requests from girls and women. They said, we have acknowledged and realized that we are becoming victim of violence, but we want to do something about it. You said you should speak of it, so now tell us, what should we do? So then we realized that, okay, if we want girls to speak up, then there should also be mechanisms where their voices can be heard, and where they can get access to, there should be means where they should get access to justice. So we established this helpline which provides them with information and resources so that they can speak for their rights. This is only one of the initiatives. We are running different initiatives. One of the initiatives which I really love is about the political empowerment of women in our societies. Why I love this program is because in our societies, girls are raised with their gender identities. The societies believe that women deserve respect because they are mothers, because they are sisters, because they are wives, because they are daughters. And we believe girls deserve rights because they're human beings, full stop. Not because they are in some relationship to women. So girls are not only their relationships, their first identity is their human being, and therefore they should have equal human rights. So the purpose of the political empowerment program is to enable women to participate as equal citizens and human beings in their societies. So we provide them skills in this program. We organize them meetings with the political parties. They meet political leaders, and 100% of these girls, they had never seen a politician in front. They have seen them on TV, but they have never seen them, or face by face. So for 100% of these girls, it's their first time they meet politicians. They ask from these politicians what they are doing in their political parties to create spaces for women, what they are doing to protect the human rights of girls and women, what they are doing in the parliament. So it's really empowering when girls meet these politicians, political parties, when they visit to the parliament and they see how legislations happen, and then they recognize how important it is for them to be in those places where legislations happens for them, where decisions happens for them. So this is how we are trying to change the lives of girls and women in Pakistan. We are working on HIV/AIDS education. We are working on sexual and reproductive health rights of young women. We are running a hotline for them, which gives information to women. We are advocating with the government to have laws which protect women and girls' rights, and also to change those laws which are discriminatory against women and girls. And we are also trying to do international advocacy, such as by becoming part of such campaigns and programs, because my time is over. So thank you so much, and if you have any questions,
Thank you very much, Gulale, for that inspiring talk.